happens. We have to accept this. Unnecessary procedures, iatrogenics, what we give our patient by our own doings, clinical, social, and I won't go into detail. But audit of cost-benefit effectiveness of modern medicine technology will be shocking. There is no audit, so it goes on. But you take an audit, you'll be surprised. Please remember that the ability of contemporary medicine to do good is more than matched by its potential to do harm. I think all of us have these experiences, that you remember that this is something I ought not to have done, whatever, but you know that it has equal potent. What is powerful for good is potent for evil. And therefore, all what you do good is more than matched by the potential that we can harm our patients, which we do. Now, coming to the fundamental part, what's happening? This is all the clear. I'm not going to detail how much surgery we can do and how much medicine is. We know it is happening. Let me go to the other aspect and the more important, that progress in the lab. Today's research is tomorrow's medicine. What our colleagues in the fundamental basic science laboratory are doing will become tomorrow's medicine. It takes 12 to 13 years for a new drug to go on the shelf. There's a tremendous amount of work for a new drug to come in. Before 12 or 13 years, a drug which you can take off the shelf of the chemist doesn't come. There's a lot of hard work in that. So, but that is today's research is tomorrow's medicine which we will practice. And it all began in 1953 by Francis and Crick. They first mapped out the DNA, which is the basis of all life, chromosomes and genes and all this is the DNA. This Francis, they won Nobel Prize. But there is a history. The history of medicine is very fascinating. Actually, much of this work in this laboratory was done by a lady, who was a lady physicist working with them. She was mainly responsible, but these two guys never acknowledged her. These are sciences, and if you read this history, you know as to, anyway, that's beside the point. And this is a typical DNA cross, we all know. 6 billion of us on this earth. We all, politicians always say all men are created equal, law should be equal. All men are not equal. Nobody is equal. All of us sitting here are different. Politically you may be that everybody can go and vote, but fundamentally nobody is equal. All of us are different because we carry a distinctive DNA, genes in our 6 billion of us, there are 6 billion different DNAs. So, I told you about this. There is the 20th century belonged to physics because of our current knowledge which is happening. The 21st century belonged to a biological revolution, a preview on a new brave world. This is a famous book in 1930. It's amazing if you read this book, Aldous Huxley, 1932. He prophesied that in the next 30, 40 years, there will be in vitro fertilization, IVF, and all that things which was said in 1932. So you can see, I still remember this science fiction, there's always, the science fiction becomes fact. In 1952, so I saw a movie, Destination Moon, at the Eros Cinema. Destination Moon. So it's a man going on the moon, 1952. We're all fantasy. It was based on a fantasy written by, I forget the name of that author who wrote that book. And in 1969, President Kennedy put a man on the moon. So that science fiction became a fact. So all what is happening in the laboratory, what I'm coming to, it can happen. So, and this is the conquest of, we are heading towards that. Our scientists are now heading to, why are they studying so deeply? The conquering aging and death. If life is good and more of life is better, the end point would be nothing less than human immortality. Death is a failure of modern medicine. For truth to tell, the victory over mortality is the unstated but implicit goal of modern medicine, indeed of the entire modern medical system, to which mankind was summoned almost 400 years by Francis Bacon and Rene Descartes. They were great philosophers and medical people of those times. And most one, Francis Bacon, he said our goal at that time, 1600 and odd, he was there, and this is written that we must conquer disease, we must conquer death, etc., etc. So it's nothing new, it was there even early 400 years ago. So that is where the conquest of first idea came in. The genes within us, we are what? We are just a replica of the genes of those cross strands. The genes determine everything from embryo development to your health and disease states and even the biological process of aging, your personality, lifespan, etc. Even a simple mutation of the lifespan gene can increase the lifespan by 50%. This is the power in the liver. They have done it in animals. You change the genetic background of mice and fruit flies and roundworms, they have increased the lifespan in the laboratories by 3-fold, 2-fold, 4-fold. And if that happens in the laboratory, it can happen even to the human being. So this is again the same. He envisages a futuristic, genetically engineered world in which health, long life, freedom from anxiety, sex, no ambitions. This is a controlled enterprise. With more, this prediction can come true. Now coming to the facts, applied biology means genomics, stem cells, may create stem cells and body parts, and of course this is the final thing, is a cloning. I wrote 6 days because that was a movie, beautiful movie on the cloning and its plus and minuses. How is medicine progressing now at this point in time, in this 2012? It's going to progress, it is always progress. 3 waves of medical progress are going to come. One is a conventional, where with the genomic profile prediction GenZip. Today, I can get my genomic profile done, not in this country, but in overseas, in less than $5,000. I can, as I say, with a little drop of blood and study of DNA, they can map out that these are the diseases you're likely to have. I might have Alzheimer's, I might have cancer. I don't know whether we want to know that, but that can be done. But there is a GenZip. This is currently we are here. There are now GenZips available, and that with GenZips will tell you, for example, a tumor, you send it to the laboratory. They will study the morphology, genomic, and they will tell you which drugs, which chemotherapy drugs will be effective on that drug, which is famously now called targeted therapy. They can also study that you will not benefit by chemotherapy, even if your ER, PR, whatever is positive, but chemotherapy or negative, you may not benefit. So those are predictive, those are direct biologicals, or what is called targeted treatment, specific treatment for everything. So that is what is happening currently always. This is a conventional progress. The next wave will come with a germline. Because we have a control of our genomes and the genetic DNA makeup which we can know, we will have a control of genetic engineering. Put in a new kind of a gene, that's called genetic engineering, and it will have the capacity not only to remove the bad gene in the years to come, 2, 3, 4 decades later, that if I have a gene of Alzheimer, that gene can be removed from your, instead with a new gene or whatever, which is called genetic, that's called genetic engineering, that's a germline progress. And you can increase your height, you can increase your intelligent quotient, you can do so many things. So the science now in the laboratory, they have done it in the animals. They increase the lifespan, they increase the intelligence and all that. So this is happening in laboratory, that what can happen in the laboratory can happen in the humans. So this is happening. And then there will be a third wave which will come 2-3 decades later, which will be a life extending, where you can increase the lifespan. Currently we live 70, 80, 85, 90. It's going up. All of us are going to live longer because of so many different reasons. And they have extended the life in the laboratory of mice, of roundworms, fruit flies by 2-3 times by doing this genetic engineering. So that will come even to human beings, and there may be a possibility that you can live to 100 years healthy or whatever, 150, 200, if it is happening in the laboratory. Exciting, but also frightening. Just imagine if we are able to do, just imagine a hypothetical situation that 30 years down the line, you can increase everybody, and if I am 85, 90, if I am healthy, I would like to live long. I would like to see my children, grandchildren go, graduate. Everything is important. So why should I not live? So if you live to be say 120, hypothetical possibility, but a reality which can come. If I live to be 120, the population is going to live to 120. I will have to be 70 or 75 before I become a head of Department of Surgery. Till that time, or somebody wants to become a bank chairman or finance, he will have to be 75. Where will the earth? Earth is not going to expand. Where all these people live? There is a kind of distributive justice. If you imagine what chaos it can create, but the human has the capacity to adjust to all these kinds of things. But so these things can happen. Today's research is tomorrow's medicine. I'm projecting into the future because I told it's important to know where you are, but where we are going. And where we are going is exciting but also frightening. That's what I'm trying to say. Now, in all this, there's a funny of headless mice and men. Now, in the laboratories, in 2 laboratories, you might have heard, some of you, Dolly the ship, it was cloned in 1997. It was received with very positive and, positive and negative. So why should you clone? There's a big debate. Actually, human cloning is banned by law in the United States. There were 2 Harvard scientists who went to the court, and some physicists and research laboratories, that they have the capacity to clone a human. If they can clone a big ship like Dolly, which came all in 1997, it was done. And so naturally, they have the capacity. But the law in the United States says at the presidential level it is banned. So they lost the case and they cannot clone. But they have the capacity to clone exactly another Sumati Bai or another XYZ, exactly like that. And why not? Why not? The grandchildren, everybody want to have Sumati Bai all the time. So this can happen. Now, what they have done in laboratory, this is actually what happened. So one in University of Houston and another University of Bath in England, 2 group of scientists created headless mice. Means they whatever that my embryo, stem cells and all that, and they found a gene of the head. There is a gene for everything. So they deleted the gene of the head and let that grow. Most of them, those embryos, most of them died, but few of them survived. But ultimately they all died. Now the point is that why are we so much worried about this? Why is it being done? Why do you want to do this kind of experiment? Am I a scientist if I do that to show my capacity to create headless creatures and all that? If you can do that, you can create headless men in the laboratory. And you can, after all, a human being, the brain is the forebrain, the midbrain, and the hindbrain. We are human beings because of our sensory perception, which lies in the forebrain. So if you delete, and that everything is a gene, forebrain gene, midbrain gene, hindbrain medulla contains of respiration, blood pressure, so you can live. But you are A and you are B because of your forebrain, because that's a sensory perception. I am Praful Desai because of the perception that I have here. If I have no perception, then I'm not. Legally I'm nobody. But I can alive because the hindbrain is okay. So the science can progress to that extent where they have already created headless mice and men. This is all banned now. They could have created headless men. Now, what is the purpose of this scientific marvel, scientific prowess? I have done this. Yes, it's narcissism. And next stage to this is cloning. So the idea is simple, that you create this for organs. There is a tremendous shortage of organs for transplant, liver, heart, lungs, everything can be transplanted. Plus, whole intestine, pancreas, everything else. And if you have people who in the laboratory are headless men without forebrain, legally nobody can, because he is nobody. It's except this experimental thing where you get all the organs. So these are things which are happening in science already, and this is written by Charles Conway. It's a wonderful book. The name of the book is The Future is Now. What is happening is what we want to do or not do, prevent, it is now that we should take action. And there is a commercial aspect to it, because the organs are in shortage, but if you are they started with created headless mice, they can create headless men, and you can get a plentiful supply of organs for transplant, which is wanted all over the world, with a little commercial element in it for plundering. That is one of the things that happen. And the next step is cloning. Cloning is a technology of narcissism. Narcissism, my own pride. You go to a lake and you see your own image and you appreciate the image. That's called narcissism. And nothing satisfies narcissism like immortality. Headlessness will be cloning's crowning achievement. What is the utility of creating these headless creatures, mice or men? Simply for the organs, fully formed, perfectly useful, ripe for plundering and commerce. So this is a offshoot scientific prowess, yes, great science achievement, but the offshoot can be commercial. Social consequences of limitless life with the conquest of mortality, increasing by 20, 30 year lifespan, the crunch, the welfare, the space, this I told it, lack of emotions, ambitions, lack of deadlines. And therefore all these things which the scientists can do in the laboratory are too important. And probably rightly, wrongly according to the science, President Clinton banned the human cloning. And therefore, just as we say that war is too important a matter to be left to the generals, science and medicine is too important a matter to be left to the scientists and doctors. There has to be, like say famous thing was happening in sonography, using sonography for sex determination. The government has stepped in to say that there are innumerable female fetuses being with ultrasound, female abort. So this is a too important matter, and naturally because we did it unwisely, for the sake to abort female fetuses, the government has come in to stop that. So many doctors have been convicted and licenses taken away in Maharashtra. I don't know what's happening in Gujarat. So therefore, science and it's too important matter to be left to the scientists when you break out into something very new like what's happening in science and medicine. The frightening possibilities of laboratory technology, I explained to you about headless, but this is just as you can create hybrids of so many things, humans and animal hybrid, my shape, etc., etc. Human fetal tissue can be transplanted and all that. Illegal harvesting, it happened no less than a famous London Children's Hospital. There was illegal harvesting of human organs for transplant. That's a big story which made even in the UK and London. But we are talking of immortality where science is progressing, conquest of mortality. But there are virtues of mortality. There are virtues that I'm not going to be there. There are virtues. The finiteness of life, we are going to, all of us, way of human flesh, that finiteness of life is very important because there are limits to life. Deadlines, passion, beauty, love, hate, interest, aspiration. Why is a flower beautiful? Why is a rose so beautiful? The beauty of a flower is because it will wither. Tomorrow that rose will not be there. That's why the rose is beautiful. Tomorrow I will not be there. So my presence now means something. Mortality makes life better. I want to live well to see my grandchildren, to go to college and attain. I want to live that long. But I have deadlines to meet. I have to get my son married. I got, so many things I need to do. I have to put my things into account. So there is a certain amount of things that we need to do, a slight tension. Tension is another one. A little tension in life is very important. See, tension, a life without tension is no meaning. It's a beautiful analogy with a musical instrument. You play your sitar, you play your piano, whatever it is. If there is a good amount of tension on the strings, then it will emit a beautiful sound. If it is too much, it will break. If it is too loose, it will not emit a good. So certain amount of tension in life is necessary so that we function at an optimal mode to see that we emit a good note to all others living along with us. So therefore, I think that and this is the same thing, that I know that I have a limit, and that's why I want to finish all this, all the good thing that I might do for the family and vice versa. And therefore, mortality makes life matter, the importance of life. If there's going to be limitless, if we're going to live to be 120 or 130 by model, what do I care? I'm going to live. So there is no deadline, there is no tension, there is nothing. That life, even though scientifically you can increase, but has no real quality meaning. It's the quality. Men, even so many of our patients say, and they openly say that I don't want to live long, but give me a little quality of life. That quality is something because mortality makes life matter. The quest for knowledge is by far the noblest and the most meaningful of all human activities. Modern science and medicine, whose overriding goal is the conquest of the blind forces of nature, is now itself being considered blind forces beyond human control. If we go to the spot, we will get out into a shape in the laboratory and clinics which will go beyond our control. What is powerful for good is potent to evil. If I am a master of any instrument over which I can I can do anything with it. It becomes a blind force. It will overwhelm me sooner or later because I'll misuse it, abuse it, because I'm just damn good at it. You know, in laparoscopy, for example, if you want to remove an appendix, you go from here, it's called nodes, natural orifices, transluminal something, some endoscopic surgery. So appendix you want to remove, you go put this, perforate your stomach, make a hole into the stomach through the endoscope, go to the appendix, come out and suture the stomach. You can do that. You can do a cholecystectomy via vagina, perforate the vagina, go to the gallbladder. Now what is all this laparoscopy? I mean, this is what overuse and misuse. Because I'm a master, I can do it. But whether in life is what you can do is not. I can do anything. If I have a knife, if I have a hammer in my hand, everything looks like a nail. Or if I have a knife in hand, I can operate on anything. It's not what you can do, it's whether you should do. This is only a technological abuse or to show my power that I remove a gallbladder through the vagina. Great thing. That's what, and this is already being published. Notes, it's called notes. Those who are in laparoscopy will know. Natural orifice, endoscopic, something surgical, I don't know. That's called notes. And now, one of the finest things which has happened in surgery is minimally invasive surgery. No question about it.